Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am almost on the road to Alice Through the Looking Glass. I have gone back to watch the original Alice in Wonderland, but now the first ever live well, not the first ever. There was one in 1999. I haven't watched it, I'm aware of it. Anyways, I am watching the 2010's Alice in Wonderland. This was directed by Tim Burton, and the plot is after the initial very beginning of the movie where you see Alice as a little girl. She's talking to her father about this dream that she's having and whatnot. 13 years go by and we meet Maya Wasikowska, and she's Alice now, a little older. She's actually almost about to get married by this guy. At least he asks her to get married. But she's having second thoughts. She runs off and chases after the white rabbit. Sound familiar? She falls down the rabbit hole once again, and she winds up in Wonderland again. She thinks it's a dream. She's going through it. She's meeting all the characters that she remembers from her dream until she finds out that this is actually kind of real. And the Red Queen this time is plotting and planning on taking over the whole land and causing some destruction. Now, what I thought or think of Alice in Wonderland, the 2010 version, is, you know, the first like 10, maybe 15 minutes of the movie, I was actually thinking, okay, this is interesting. This is my second time watching the movie. I did see it back in theaters when it came out, and I remember not caring for it, but I wanted to watch it this time to figure out why. What exactly are the reasons why I didn't care for it? And at the beginning, I thought it was interesting to set this film 13 years later after the original story, to not just redo the original story and do the same thing over again, and that they were doing something different, and that now Alice was older and you were seeing the effects that maybe that dream or whatever it was had on her. But once she falls into the rabbit hole, once she goes into CGI land, Wonderland, that's where I lost interest. That's where it just kind of lost me. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's a little too much. It's a little too over the top. It's a little too CGI-y. Like, none of it looks real. I know it's Wonderland. I know it's supposed to be over the top in some ways. But it just, none of it feels natural. None of it feels realistic. It feels like she fell into a video game. And I wanted it to be better. I think at the time when it did come out in the theaters and in 3D, maybe it looked decent, but maybe it's because it's been 6 years, and seeing a movie like Jungle Book that is completely CGI as well, but it looks so flawless and looks so perfect. Maybe in 6 years CGI has come so far that I'm just watching this and thinking, wow, this looks really fake, and I can't emotionally care about any of these fake CGI characters or what's going on with the Red Queen and whatnot. Also, Maya Wasikowska, I like her as an actress. I've seen her in other things. I think she's good in other things. I don't think she's terrible here, but I do think she's a little awkward at times. And again, it's not really her fault. She's reacting to nothing. She's reacting to green screen. She's reacting to CGI stuff. And you can tell where her movements, or where she's supposed to be running away from something, or where she's supposed to be fighting the dragon at the end of the movie with the sword. It's like it doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel natural. It feels forced. A lot of the movie feels forced. Some of the characters that we meet, once again, I said the White Rabbit, who I enjoyed, but a little too CGI. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, who are very much CGI here, and it makes you wonder, because of how the story is taking place, is this really a sequel to the 1951 movie? Because if so, why do almost none of these versions of the characters look the same or look even similar to the original cartoon? Maybe it's closer to the book, maybe, but I'm watching this and I'm like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum look so like over the top, cartoonish like characters, and this is supposed to be the live action version. Stephen Fry is the voice for the cat, Cheshire, And the cat I liked. I liked the design of him. I thought just seeing him move around and the effects that went into him disappearing, maybe because those scenes took place in a darker environment. You have Alan Rickman as the caterpillar, which is probably, again, one of my favorite characters, even in this movie, because Alan Rickman, with the dry humor, I love it. You have Helena Bonham Carter as the Red Queen. Man, was I sick of this bitch. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't use that word, but because I like Helena Bonham Carter, usually I do. But this movie, I know the Red Queen, even in the original, was over the top and was loud and obnoxious and annoying in a lot of ways. That was the point of the character and the whole off with her head thing. I get it. It's there. But this movie went 110 with that. With those characteristics. She said off with her head, off with their head, off with his head, probably 100 times. I'm not exaggerating. She said it so many times. I wanted to cut her head off. Oh, she's the villain. She's supposed to be unlikable. Yeah, but not unlikable to the point where I want to just like turn the TV on mute or change the channel or just not really have to deal with her. Crispin Glover plays Knave of Hearts. Now, Crispin Glover, I do. Obviously, Back to the Future, right? George McFly, but I don't really know why he was cast as this knight. And even, like, his body was CGI. It was longer than normal, but his head was real. And every time I looked at him, every time there was a full body shot of him, it looked awkward. It looked weird. It took me out of this each and every single time. I wish that there was more practical going on. I wish there was more stages, more things built, a set built for at least some of this stuff so that it could look real. Like the part where Alice falls into the hole and she's in that room, she's upside down, and then she's drinking the thing to go small and go big again. That looked like a practical room. That looked real, and that was probably the most realistic part of the movie, scene of the movie. But then once she goes into Wonderland, it's just green screen galore, and it took me out of it for the rest of it. Anne Hathaway as the White Queen, talk about overacting. And I usually like Anne Hathaway. I do think she's a good actress in other things, but man, she's so like, oh dear, and I'm just like, stop it. I know it's this story. I know she probably maybe even was directed to do this. If that's the case, then you gotta blame Tim Burton. What the hell? Tim Burton was responsible for some of the most original and different and weird, but still captivating to watch type movies in the 90s and even maybe early 2000s. But lately, this just felt lazy. This felt like he was on autopilot. It felt like he didn't really care about the story, the emotions that you had to have to go into it. I'm not saying that there weren't moments to like in the film, but that brings me to Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter. And Johnny Depp is, at this point, he's infamous. He's infamous for probably not the greatest reasons, but the fact that he's always willing to play an out there character. In some senses, you go, hey, if this is so far removed from you, then cool. That's cool. But the fact that you always seem to go for a character like this, a character that is so zany, is tons of makeup, like, why is this Mad Hatter? Especially in comparison to 1951's cartoon. Why is he pale? Why is his hair orange? Why does he look as goofy as he does? It doesn't really make any sense continuity-wise. This movie, like, is it its own thing? Is it? Because I don't understand this version of the Mad Hatter, and I don't like it. I don't. He was creepy. In fact, I think Johnny Depp would be more in line to play the Mad Hatter from the Batman universe, the crazy evil villain type. That would make more sense. There came a point where where Alice is being reminded that this is real, that it wasn't a dream, that she really did go through this as a little girl, and they showed flashbacks or flashes of all those moments of her as a girl going through this. And I honestly, at that point, since I was so bored by the real story going on, I wanted to see that story. I wanted to see the original story just retold. I know it's cheaper. I know it's lazy. I know I should respect this movie more for going for something different and doing a different story. But this different story wasn't that interesting. It was kind of lame. that I just would have preferred the same thing over again, but live action. That's what they should have done. That's what I'm kind of hoping that they have done now in retrospect. All in all, this film, is it terrible? Is it the worst thing ever? Am I ranting and raving and angry about it? No, it's just kind of forgettable. It's just really nothing. In a story like this, with the budget that this had, with the director that they had, with some of the cast that they had, it should have been a hell of a lot better. And the fact that it made over $1 billion, that pisses me off more than the actual movie does. Like, okay, fine, maybe the name alone brought people to the theater to see it initially, but the repeat viewings? How did it make that much money? Anyways, guys, I didn't care for it. I didn't. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the 2010 Alice in Wonderland. Do you like it? Do you love it? Or do you hate it? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!